Marijuana can affect the economy in a few major ways. According to the Marijuana Revenue and Regulation Act, marijuana as a Schedule I drug falls into Internal Revenue Code of Section 280E, meaning marijuana businesses are not eligible for tax write-offs and can face an effective annual income tax rate of up to 80%. This means the government would profit more than the actual entrepreneur who takes on the financial risk. Marijuana as a Schedule III substance removes this heavy tax burden on the entrepreneurs in the cannabis industry. The government can continue to generate a profit from this industry by imposing a sales tax on marijuana products instead of imposing heavy annual income taxes on these legitimate businesses. Federal legalization also brings more industry and increased job opportunities to the United States. People need to cultivate, manufacture, and sell marijuana and hemp products, which would in turn give people work in this increasingly shrinking job market. Currently, marijuana companies trade over-the-counter. Over-the-counter trading can lead investors astray because it's less liquid than stock exchanges, it's associated with higher risks, and it can incur higher transaction costs, among other drawbacks. Federal legalization would allow for marijuana enterprises to become publicly traded companies in the U.S. major stock exchange, creating increased opportunities for stakeholders. Moving on, let's now discuss some of the scientific factors that play into federal legalization. Cannabis-related compounds are synthetic compounds made in a laboratory and used for medicinal purposes. The FDA has approved these cannabis-related compounds for legitimate medical use, but because of dual sovereignty, residents in 10 U.S. states cannot legally access these federally approved medicines. The FDA has not approved cannabis-derived compounds, which is marijuana in its smokable variant. However, 40 states disagree with the FDA, allowing for the purchase of smokable weed with a medical marijuana card. It's a legislative nightmare. It should also be noted that cannabis has been used for a common treatment for chronic pain since before 2900 BC, before the FDA was even founded. Indoor cannabis cultivation can have negative impacts on the environment. According to Quinn and Summers at the University of Colorado, lights, air conditioners, and heaters account for approximately 11 to 25% of a marijuana facility's CO2 emissions. This equates to burning 7 to 16 gallons of gasoline per ounce of cannabis grown indoors, according to the Smithsonian Magazine published on March 12, 2021. If marijuana legalization happens, limitations must be written into law for how much a cannabis company can grow indoors. Let's now discuss the political, legislative, and social aspects related to the federal legalization of cannabis. Allow me to start this segment off by saying the Trump administration has begun taking the steps in the right direction by rescheduling marijuana to Schedule III. Marijuana logistically doesn't fit as a Schedule I substance. The DEA's definition of a Schedule I substance is, quote, drugs with no currently accepted medical use and high potential for abuse. The FDA has approved cannabis-related compounds, and potential for abuse is far less than that of other Schedule I drugs, like heroin and LSD. With legalization, interstate marijuana smugglers will almost completely perish. However, legalization obviously doesn't completely eliminate drug smuggling as a whole. There's always bound to be a sketchy guy in the back of the alley slinging dope to teenagers looking to make a quick $1.50. Now that we're on the topic of marijuana criminalization, we should discuss why marijuana is illegal in the first place. Marijuana prohibition and criminalization have a severely racist history. According to a law review published by the University of Chicago, Alessandro Clark Ansani mentions how marijuana was first criminalized in response to Mexican immigrants bringing cannabis culture to the U.S. This led to a rabbit hole of nativism and reform until the drug was eventually made illegal in 1937. Dual sovereignty doesn't work because if a state chooses to ban marijuana, its citizens are no longer eligible to use these federally approved medicines. There's also the logistic factor. You can travel down I-90 for 30 minutes, and if you forget you have an ounce in the trunk, you're now facing a potential felony. After viewing how Americans initially responded to growth of cannabis as Mexican immigration rose, let's see how people view the substance today. A range of polls claim 64% to 88% of Americans agree with federal marijuana legalization. There's not a single demographic among all demographics where the percentage of approval is less than 50%. 57% of those 55 and older, 68% of those 35 to 54, and 72% support from 18 to 34-year-olds. Federal legalization also has bipartisan support as well. 87% of Democrats, 70% of independent voters, and 55% of Republicans support legal cannabis.